So here we go. I'm Cheryl with Joyly and Bob Miglani, and we are C-suite friends. And we met a couple weeks ago, and here we are having our first experience. And I asked you to sit in the chair, Joy, and there you are.
Just sit. Okay, I'm going to sit now. I'm going to settle in. Yeah,
You
there we
look
go.
fabulous. You look fabulous.
Thank you.
You look fabulous. So where in the world are you today?
I'm in a small town in New Jersey, in central New Jersey, and it's about 20 minutes from Princeton, so it's central New Jersey. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. And your work in the world is about chaos. So tell me about that a little bit.
I wrote a book. It was a Washington Post bestseller book called Embrace the Chaos. And it's about learning to stop overthinking and start living. And it's a journey of me in corporate America. I worked for Pfizer, one of the biggest companies in the world, and I quit. I left a few years ago. And but it was at that time very stressful, chaotic moments in my career and my life. And I went on this trip to India, where it was this, sort of chaotic, environment. And it helped me realize that life is always in chaos. You have very little control. And once you start letting go of the notion of control, you break free from that. And you focus on what you can control, which is yourself. And so it's a journey of me learning to move forward in times of change.
What has been the response about people letting go of control so they can, sort of get their arms around chaos? What has been the response?
It's been very good. I think it's been difficult for a lot of people, especially in business. I grew up in the business world. And my family, we had a Dairy Queen growing up as immigrants to America. Yeah. So we were immigrants, came here with nothing, with $75 in our pocket about 40 years ago from India. And so, lived in apartments, shared rooms, and so on and so forth, and growing up. And we bought into the American dream. We had a business. And so for business people, and then, from Dairy Queen, I worked in corporate, huge company in New York City, global company, lots of sort of roles and things. And so you want to control your destiny, you control your destiny, control the world kind of thing. And I always believed in taking action and doing those things. But as I grew older, no matter what I realized was I was, one, very, very dissatisfied. And then second is, no matter how much I tried to control my team, my organization, whatever, things went wrong, okay? Life just hits you, right? Like Mike Tyson used to say, where's that quote? Planning is all great until you get punched in the face, something like that. Yeah. And so I think learning to give up control for business people is very hard to do. But deep inside, I think they recognize it. And once they recognize and accept that you can't control your customers, your boss, I can't control my kids, Cheryl, to think I can control life. So once you learn to let go of that, you focus on what you can control, which is what words, your thoughts, your actions. Words, your thoughts, your actions. You control those things, you begin to start moving forward and getting unstuck. And I think that message with business people resonates when I explain it to them in their mindset of being business leaders, having budgets, having teams. So I think it's been a very good response. I spoke, to like 30,000 people in 2019, 40,000 people, whatever, 2019, as a speaker on change throughout the world.
Man, so you have built the American dream from Dairy Queen to thousands of stages, and
yes,
just a spectacular story.
I'm very blessed to do it, but I think it's the opportunity, right? It's sort of like I look at what the world is. I always look at lemons and try to make lemonade out. Whatever. I was in a job in corporate. It was a little dead end job. My cubicle was next to the bathroom where I could hear the flush every 2 minutes, And so I looked at that opportunity where I could learn and really become an expert at something. And I really got deep into it. And then eventually that job became important somehow over time. And I quote unquote got lucky and I rose through the ranks in corporate America. So I always looked at making the best out of a really bad situation. And even the books that I've written, I got rejected so many times from publishers. And then one publisher wrote back a rejection letter and said, "No, I'm happy to give you advice." And so I called him up and I said, "Well, this, that, and the other, loved your advice." He goes, "You know what? I see your story now. Why don't you pitch me again?" And he pitched it and he said, "Okay, we'll give you a book deal." And so it's always been those kind of circumstances where I looked at a negative or a rejection and kind of turned it into something of an opportunity. But that's been very fortunate in America. people are just so wonderful, I think.
So let me ask you, just because you're sitting in the chair of joy, and I want to go through this process with you. When you said your words, your thoughts, your actions, you can control. So when someone does that, what is obviously you're lessening your chaos and getting less stress and all of that. So what on the opposite side of that, if you can control your words, your thought and actions, what's the result?
The result is you're a little bit less, you don't care about as much about when things go wrong. You don't care if you're not as you're not as hurt by the emotional impact when something goes wrong.
So
I think that's the biggest thing.
Would you say when you're not as hurt and things are not impactful, then the opposite of that is joy?
It is. Actually, you kind of smile when you're, when you're in this crazy moment where, because you recognize, like I was in India, I tell this story all the time. A moment of joy came to me when I was trying to catch a very crowded bus in India. I had asked my cousin, hey, I want to do what locals do here in India. So, let's go on the bus. He's like, you can't take the bus, Bob. You're Bob from America. You're not Indian anymore. So no, we go to the bus stop. And so we're waiting for the bus. It's like a dirt road. And here comes the bus. It's coming down this road, completely full. So people hanging with their fingernails all around this bus. People falling off, getting on. And the driver has no intention of stopping. So it sort of slows down, it picks up speed, and you have to run for it and try to get on this bus. And so I was like, I'm not getting on that thing. So the bus went by, and my cousin's like, what happened? You're supposed to run. I said, I'm gonna fall, I'm gonna get hurt, break a leg, go to the hospital. Have you seen the needles over here? So essentially I let the bus go. And so I'm like, he's like, come on, let's go. I'm like, no, I'm gonna wait for the next bus. There'll be a little bit more, seats. So finally, second bus goes by, same thing, overcrowded. He's like, come on. I said, no, I'm from New York. I can do this. I can get on a bus. Third bus comes, and it was completely full again. And I saw this older woman starting to run. And I said, well, if she can do it, why can't I? So I started running, found myself running, and I found a space on the bus. I got on the bus, overcrowded. I slipped, and some guy helped me back on. And that moment of joy was priceless. I felt like I was going somewhere. I had no idea where I was going. I had no idea where my cousin was or to buy a ticket. It was overcrowded, but I was so full of joy because I was moving forward. And I learned in my life to stop overthinking and start running. Yeah. Start waiting for things to happen and start running. And to me, that was a wonderful moment of joy that came over me when I was moving forward.
Well, that's the beginning of the Chair of Joy process. So thank you for sharing that story, but I'm going to ask you for a couple of more. So probably things, I'm glad you shared that one because that's a story you share all the time. So here's the Chair of Joy process. And as we talked about, if you redo and, put the same memories through your reactivating system, that they can eventually take over. And joy is one of those emotions that can take over and we can elevate. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to just sit back in your chair of joy, and I'm sure you have a beautiful chair that you're sitting in, whatever chair you're sitting in, but it looks like you're sitting in the chair of joy to me and our audience. So just take in a deep breath, and we're going to take in for 4 and hold it for 4 and exhale for 4 and hold it for 4. All right, this time I want you to tap into another joyful experience, not the bus, but some other time, some other place. So breathe in deep, hold it. See where you were, who were you with, and exhale. And when you land on it, please share.
Okay. So I was in Italy with my 2 daughters on a road trip that I took a few years ago. And my daughter had a severe allergic reaction to hazelnut that was in a croissant a few days before. And she was so much better. She survived, she was fine. And we were in Venice, and we were waiting for her to catch the pigeons on our hands that we do in Venice in St. Mark's Square. And the pure joy that she had, it was just incredible. And to me, it made me the most happiest person, seeing her so happy after she'd been so much, difficulty, the past few days. So it was like, I think about that. I have a video of that. And to me, it just fills me up with joy. And she was like holding the pigeons, and then she let go, and she's like, jumping up and down, so happy. So,
How old was she?
She was at the time 10.
Okay, good. All right,
Yeah.
we're gonna do that one more time, Bob. So sit back and relax, and we're gonna take one more deep breath in. And see if you can go to another time and another place, maybe another really goosebump moment where things were just cooking for you. And exhale. And whenever you land on it, let me know.
I think I was in India in a village with a social worker, and it was very crazy times. And I think one of the moments of joy I had was having this conversation about people and about him. He was a social worker. He was giving social work in India in these villages that had nothing. And I asked him sort of like, why do you do this job? And he said to me, because it sort of helps me, gives me meaning in my life when I help somebody else. And it was very joyful to me because he was a very kind young guy who was very sincere in the way he was speaking to me. And I remember that, and then heading back, I was filled with like happiness, understanding what kind of made somebody happy in a very difficult situation. And then there were these, there was this farm we were passing kind of in the middle of these villages and of sheep. And so I stepped out with my friend and we took some pictures with the sheep. And I thought it was wonderful because it was just in the middle of nowhere, spontaneity.
Yeah.
And then I had this wonderful warm moment with this person.
And so real quickly, the pigeon moment with your daughter, your 10-year-old daughter, and this social worker or this sheep, the last one in India, what would you say the word would be that would connect those two? If there was one word that you could give it, the essence of it.
Spontaneity.
Yeah, that's what I thought you were going to say. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
So if you could just feel spontaneity, so would you agree a spontaneity is joy and joy is spontaneity?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But just feel spontaneity from your head to your toe and just think of all, moments all through your life where you just jumped on a bike and went or whatever you did that just oozing through your bones. Right. So therein lies, Bob, the support of the CEOs in joy. So once they can understand what their joy is and they can take a moment and do that, the ripple effect of how you feel right now, right? Do you feel elevated and your joy has gone up? Right. So that's basically it. And then I just want to finish off. This is what I do for fun. I just say, if you could put spontaneity in a jar or a container of some kind, what would the container look like? I didn't mean to say jar, but some kind of
I suppose it would be, I don't know, if I could put it in something, it would be a ball of some sort. I mean, to give it to people, saying.
I was thinking we were going to say a Dairy Queen box.
Yes.
Okay,
ice cream sandwich. Yeah.
That too. If you could give the ball, here you are walking on LaGuardia Airport, you're going down the ramp, and there's all of your, your CEO friends from all through the years and neighbors and et cetera, and you had to give the ball to them, the ball of spontaneity. What would you say to them specifically? How could you pass it along to them?
Do something random, do something different, take a chance, step out of the comfort zone, just do something unusual for a stranger, have a random moment, listen, ask a question, smile at a stranger.
And why would we want them to do that?
Well, because I think it would allow them to break free from, their current state of being and allow them to step out into something new and different that would open up their mindset and opportunities.
Yeah. Are people open to new opportunities like that, or are they just rudimentary going through the day?
I think most of us are going through the day.
Yeah.
I think we fall into this default mode of, whatever we're doing until something drastic happens and then, we change. And that's actually life calling us to do something different.
Yeah. So two more questions. The one around the Chair of Joy experience is, if you could give that ball of spontaneity to someone else today, who would it be and why?
I would give it to my wife. She works very hard, and She does pretty much the same thing all the time, seeing patients. She's an eye doctor. And so it's sort of like she's just drained because there's so many patients, and with COVID, there's a lot of, different things she has to do, and it's very hard for her. So I would, maybe just give her that.
Maybe you could surprise her with something spontaneous tonight.
I was thinking about that. Actually, I think I'm going to go and get her a Starbucks, like an espresso or something for her.
Beautiful. And surprise her at work?
Yes. I'm here. Yeah. I share her office once in a while. I come in. So, yeah.
That gives me goosebumps. That'd be so cool. Yeah. All right. And then regarding the whole chair of joy experience, the idea with Joyly is that you can have a chair of joy anywhere, anytime, any place, right? So if your chair of joy my chair of joy is often a log in nature, just anywhere, or a park bench. So if you could pick a chair of joy in your home or in your office, where would it be?
I have a small chair in my basement. It's very comfortable. I love it. And it gives me where I meditate often. And it's perfect. It's quiet, dark, and it's cool. It's very comfortable. So I would do that.
And like we were saying before, then if we could create an opportunity for others to create an opportunity, which is, I just showed you the chair of joy experience. Do you think you could sit in your chair of joy 3 or 4 times a day and call in these memories?
Totally. I think it's a wonderful, I love the concept. I love what it's done to me, today in the last 10 minutes, and I could see it passing on with so many other people. So absolutely.
So you think you could have a conversation with this, maybe with your wife, about her own
Absolutely.
chair? Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And what about
Passing
CEOs? What might it mean for CEOs if they were to sit in a chair of joy in their boardroom?
I think it would give them a moment of reflection of what's really important, is to try to recreate that for their organization, for their people.
That's beautiful. Bob, it's been a pleasure.
No, thank you. Fantastic.